everybody who's right now on this air meet event, just come into the chat and just like let your GIF game start back again. We want to see who brings their A game to the GIF show. This is the last session. Literally, the event is going to end in the next 15-20 minutes. Um, a lot of people are also excited about the solstice contest announcement. We have like a small hiccup over there. We'll have to do the announcements later in a few days, because we're still evaluating all the entries, because we had a mammoth of submissions that came our way, and we totally misjudged the amount of time it will need for us on so many entries. So that's a little sad part about it. But apart from that, I'm going to bring in everybody who's here today. Just come to the chat, let your GIF game play. People who are at the top of the leaderboard, 5,600 points. Simha Y. Manan has 4,000 points. Oh my God. Guys, that's too many points. If I was an attendee of this event, I wouldn't have gotten these many points. I can clearly tell you that. How many of you also put up Instagram stories and tweets? I retweeted some of the tweets and reshared some of the IG stories. But what about others? Have you tagged Pepper's page, the speakers? Have you connected to the speakers on their as a LinkedIn connection, or Twitter or Instagram, wherever? Because the networking and learning doesn't stop here in the next 15 minutes. I think this is just the beginning of it. It's an opportunity for each one of you who has been listening to so many speakers today to go ahead and meet them, get connected to them on LinkedIn. The probability of getting connected to a global leader, let's say like a Mayur or Anand or anybody else, when you send them a LinkedIn request and write as a note in that I attended your session and I like this about the session, it's probably way higher than you just randomly sending them a LinkedIn request, or sending them a DM on Instagram or Twitter. So I'm glad that a lot of you, and I've been seeing Prashant and everybody else. I in fact have been seeing the chat in literally every session, so I know everybody who has been putting in gifs. I know the titles that you have written: content writers, SEO managers, founders, designers, illustrator, who have been attending this session altogether since morning. I've been really, really happy about seeing the energy that you folks have brought in. But we are going to come to a close of this event. And who better than the co-founder and CEO of Pepper Content, Rishabh Shekhar? In the last 1.5 year, every month or every day on day basis, I've learned something more about the whole content ecosystem and content as an industry, and the kind of ecosystem that we are tapping into, and the potential that Pepper and its creators and the community that we are building is really massive. Every day some new things comes up on the internet. It could be web 2, web 3. Internet is run on content is the commodity, content is the currency of the internet. And every day internet grows. I think the potential of what we do at Pepper grows, and what our creators do, people who are part of our community, is growing on a day on day basis. But I would like to invite and give the stage to Rishabh, who's our co-founder and CEO, to do a closing note and share some of his thoughts about the event, about in general, about what's been up at Pepper, what we see as the future of Pepper, and some other things also. We are open to taking in few questions also, so please feel free to put in your questions in the chat or in the Q&A tab. Happy to take them like towards the end. Any other question that you might have, please feel free to do that. But this is also the time where you all should probably just take a screenshot of this or a picture of this and put it up on Twitter or LinkedIn or IG, and talk about what you all learned today, which was your favorite session, what did you enjoy the most, or anything else. But Rishabh, why don't you take the last, like, next 5-10 minutes to just address everybody who has been here listening since morning. There are
Right.
thousands of folks who were here since like the morning.
Got it. No, I think, Pawan, I think one thing that after every event amazes me is the love that people show us. I think we were just reading the comments, right? And I think it's almost humbling to have this kind of support that these people in the chat show us, right? And I think that this makes us, push to do better, right? I still remember a few months ago when we decided, okay, we are doing doing Creative Solstice, and this was the first event we were actually doing very specific, very niche in a way, right? I think talking about design and creativity, right? So I think I had my hiccups earlier where I thought whether we would be able to pull this off or not, right? We had done massive events earlier, but they were very broad, right? They had 3 4 tracks or talking about different forms of content, different types of things within the content ecosystem. But I think when we went in deep, and that is when we realize there's so much to even talk about, just creativity in itself, right? And creative content in itself, right? And I think that just goes on to show the amount of depth that content industry has still to capture, the amount of depth that we still have to explore in this ecosystem, right? We have been doing this now for 5 years, and I think I still learn every time I go in a session or moderate, someone like a Mayur or a Ayaz that I had the chance to talk to, right? um and the best part was, right, when you look at sessions and the content that came up, right? We talked about how to be creative, right? We talked about creativity for someone sitting in Bharat, right, the hinterland of India, right? And we talk about creativity for a global audience, right? We talked about how do you be creative in a non-creative environment, right? We talked about the creative economy and the talent that is sitting in the creative economy, right? I think we talked about what makes people creative, what makes people have that fire of just doing great creative stuff, right? And I think more than all of that, what we really talked about, and I think that was a theme that we personally really love, is the entire art of storytelling, right? How do you how do you tell stories through creative content? How do you tell stories through design, through video, right? And I think at the end of it, everything just culminated towards that, right? So if you look at it, right, things like storytelling in design is about bringing emotions and feelings into design, right? I think Imran said that, and it so beautifully captures, because design and content and storytelling feels so abstract, but at the core of it, right, it's how do you bring feelings into something creative, right? A creative doesn't just need to be viral, but it needs to be emotional in some way, right? I think Ayush talked about how data is the biggest killer of creativity, right? And moonshots don't come from data. And I suddenly went back to Steve Jobs, and I think how he used to do his work, how he created Apple the way we know it, right? They were never A/B testing stuff. They were never doing things as most say MBA classes teach you to do, right? So I think that's a beautiful insight, right? That a lot of things happen on the backbone of data, but maybe creativity as a field needs to be left alone, right? And I think the last line that which Hitesh said, right? Creativity flourishes in an uncomfortable environment, right? And I think that's such a beautiful statement to capture, right? I think and creativity not only in the sense of content, but creativity in the sense of problem solving also, right? I think that's true because I, as a founder, can relate to it, right? We have had the best of solutions in the toughest of times because that made us so uncomfortable, made us think out of the box, right? And I think that is what creativity is, right? Creativity doesn't really needs to be just limited to content, right? An SEO manager who's probably I saw a few of them, right? How do you even creatively approach the problem of SEO? How do you creatively approach the problem of organic traffic? That also can be taken away from this these conversations. But I think overall, I was talking to my panelists, and they beautifully said, right? Uh, Trends change, what people base their opinion on change, but one thing that stays true is, be it 50 years ago when Amul started or Parley started, or right now when Cred is doing amazing marketing stuff, right? What has been a constant is content being produced, content be telling the stories of those brands, right? And it is as true as it was say 50 years ago as it is now, that every company is a content company, right? No, no, maybe people don't acknowledge it, maybe people, are just ignorant enough to probably just not realize it and yet. But if you see which companies stay the test of time, right, it doesn't depend if the industry is boring. Fevicol, right? Something like Fevicol, which is in as boring industry as glue and adhesive, right, is probably one of the most coolest brand out there, just because they've been able to put the right content out there, right storytelling out there, right? So I think the more, and I think content has shaped up beautifully in the last 20 years, right? Earlier the content meant one billboard, one ad film, with the biggest stars, and one newspaper ad, right? That was content. It was still content, but that was relevant. So 20 years ago. Now content has changed, right? Content is now 30 reels a day, right? The content is now 50 ads running on, content is now 100 blogs on your website, right? Content, the form of content changed, the how people consume content changed, right? With the advancement of technology, right? Now it's not that you have you create one ad film and that works, right? You need, as we do, Pavan, internally, right? We create one video, then we cut it into five different parts for LinkedIn differently, Instagram differently, right? Because again, medium changes, but that's not new, right? We very intellectually try to garner things like, content is changing because every channel has a new way of creating content, but that stayed true even 20 years ago, right? Well, how radio had content, right? How radio talked about ads versus how TV talked about say content, how newspaper had content, they were all different, right? So it's just that channels have changed, but the thought process is same, right? You find a channel, you create content for it, not fit content into it, right? So I think that is what is happening. And I think the only difference is we have more channels now, we have a bigger, wider audience with better penetration with the social channels and the internet. I think it's amazing to see how far we have come and how long we still have to go, right? I think you were only discussing about with someone about web 2 and web 3 design, right? I, as
Yeah.
a person running a content company, I'm still a bit clueless about what web 3 design can mean for people, right? And we had Hashcase, doing some stuff for us in NFT for this event as well, right? So I think the vastness of it amazes me, the depth of it excites me, right? But what is the most best part about it is the creativity, is the storytelling part, which makes you feel human in, and which makes you see human in every brand out there, right? And I think that's the best thing that a brand can do, be as human as possible, because you relate to humans, not corporates, right? So I think, yeah, that's my views. I feel overwhelmed saying all of this, but I think this was a lovely day. This just constantly shows us to how powerful the content community can be, how powerful words and stories can be, right? And I think, Pavan, I think as a collective goal between us and our entire organization, what we should take up is events is a consequence of how you do it, but how do we tell even better stories, right? I think when I was talking to Ayaz and he told about the small happiness Coke machine where they did something about India and Pakistan, that was beautiful, right? And I think those are the stories people would love to hear. Events is just a way, a medium to do that, but I think at the end of it, we are curating stories, and let's keep on doing that. So I think, thank you guys, thank you for your time today. This was a lovely time that we spent. We hope to do this more and often, and we hope for your continued support. I think that's it from my side. Rishabh, Sai, Shekhar, co-founder and CEO Pepper Content, signing off. Thank you.
Thanks, Rishabh. And I'm going to leave you all with something to look up to, which is in the next few minutes, you will see on Pepper's Instagram page that we are going to release a small, like an after movie of sort of the entire event. You might be there in that after movie. So make sure that you check out Pepper's Instagram page. It's at the rate Pepper underscore content. It's very simple. Even if you just search Pepper content, that would be like easily you can find that. But just check out if you're there in the video, if some of your questions are there in the video, and if you're there, you definitely like just put out a comment. And I think that's something that we can end this event at, but you can really look up to the video that we're going to release in the next few minutes. um, Yeah, Prashant. I think I've had like a nice banter with Prashant, Prithviraj, Shivani, and a lot of other folks in the chat in different sessions. And yes, it's also a great example of using UGC. I think we have been sort of bringing our A game into doing user generated content, but that's also like an added benefit of putting community always at the forefront and like at the peak of your marketing campaigns and initiatives. So yeah, maybe Prashant, let's talk about this later offline about UGC and some other things. But thank you so much once again, everyone, for joining in. And please know that when I say thank you so much, it's I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I've been sitting here in this chair in this setup since the last 7-8 hours, and I know I've been interacting with each one of you through chat, through DMs. I really thank and just wish that you continue to support us and put your trust into us, since like this only in the coming future events that we'll also do. Because I was just talking to Maithili that if this was an offline event, I live in Andheri, I would not even go to Bandra for an offline event like this. But you guys have spent the last 7-8 hours trusting us with your time and energy, and have given us that space in your life. So thank you so much for that, and we really look forward to your continued support in the future events also. That's us as a Pep Content team signing off and closing Creative Solstice, the event. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
guys.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye bye. Good night.